We also will have on stage Honorable Anthony Mavunde, Minister for Minerals, the United Republic of Tanzania. Karib sana. Free sitting, sir. Then we have Honorable Dahir Shire Mohammed, Minister of Petroleum and Mineral Resources, the Federal Government of Somalia. Let's appreciate him. You're most welcome. Last but definitely not least, we have Honorable Losuba Ludoru Wongo, Minister of Mining, the Republic of South Sudan. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for joining us on this panel discussion, and we will get right into it. And I'd like to begin with CS Joho, because you were here earlier on, and you said that there is no more exporting of ore, of raw ore from Africa, and beginning with Kenya. What does that look like? Because what does it mean now on the ground when these different stakeholders now come to a point of implementing that? How does it look like?
Well, first and foremost, let me begin by thanking you for that very critical and important question. And I'll define it in the simplest terms possible. For example, you have this conversation today on what may be critical in the global space, and mostly what is discussed as energy transition and what it means for industrialization, job creation, and wealth creation. Now for us, we can only be able to realize our potential and understand what we really need to spur industrialization and change our economic conversation by understanding and redefining what works for us. So that can only be achieved if we look at the complete discussion around beneficiation. That is one. The other important and critical point is, if you look at how minerals are valued, it doesn't take rocket science, it doesn't take any kind of expertise or economist. It just tells you. You look at copper ore, for example, you extract it, crush it, export it, you look at the value, and people do it. I've seen some miners from Migori, for example, who for far too long, like the former governor here, will tell you people only crush and export. And if you look at the LME listing, you'll find that copper ore will probably be sold at around $900. If you move it to copper concentrate, almost 5-folds of value. And if you move it to copper cathode, then 10-folds of value. Now what is important for us is that we still are the same ones who will end up importing that finished product at a much greater value. What have we missed? We have missed an opportunity to industrialize, create real wealth that remains and transform lives here, and spur our industrialization. So this conversation of beneficiation is very critical to all of us. Finally, I want to say that when you run government institutions, sometimes, and I keep saying it, you know me, in Kenya here, I consider myself extremely lucky because I have a successful neighbor in the space of mining. And I tell Anthony Mavunde here from Tanzania that you mentor me in the space of mining, even though I'll mentor you in many other areas like the highways, the so. But in Tanzania, they have done well in mining. We have to give it to them, and we must clap for them. And what are we doing? Because we are at our infancy stages, we are learning from their success and their mistakes, isn't it? And I'll tell you, the cities around the world, Western Australia, Johannesburg was built as a result of mining proceeds. So what does that tell you? It tells you that you cannot build empires, you cannot create jobs, you cannot create wealth if your focus is still at extraction level. And that is why we're having this policy, larger policy discussion, and how we need to realign as a continent to where technological advancement allows, we must process in country. So yes, it is very critical, and we have a focus. Not only myself, you've had the chairman of AMSG who is here. Later on, he can break it down for you. But we do not to exploit our people negatively. We want to leave an impact. And the way you could do that is ensure there is maximum beneficiation. I thank you, Dan.
Thank you very much, Bwana CS. It's appreciating for that. And before I bring in the successful guy, you know, the one who's in a mentor-mentee relationship with our CS, I want to bring in the minister from Nigeria. And Honorable Alake, you were quoted in an article in October 2025, which was saying that you said 10 years ago, that was now 2015, mining contributed less than 0.5% to GDP. Today, that is as at October 2025, you are at 1.8%, according to the latest data of official data, which you said it clearly demonstrates that the reforms are working. What reforms are these specifically that you put in place that you can actually say worked to move that contribution by about, which the increment is about a change of 4.6%?
Thank you very much, moderator. First of all, we have to give a historical perspective to these issues. I did say that 2015, 10 years ago, in actual fact, it's beyond 10 years ago. Historically, Nigeria and most of Africa had always been producing these raw minerals, and these minerals had always been shipped out to power the factories of the industrial world or industrialized world, the northern hemisphere. And that had made Africans to be economically subjugated, environmentally degraded, politically subdued. Because without economic independence, political independence is mere rhetorics. It's not pragmatic. So when we came on board 2 years ago, we decided to change this narrative in Nigeria. So we started these policy reforms. First of all, the value addition. Now, if we were to stop the hemorrhaging, because shipping out our raw minerals, raw ores, is hemorrhaging. It's like pumping out the blood of Africa. So we had to stop it with a policy of local value addition. And I did announce in Nigeria that we will no longer license investors who did not show us concrete path for local processing and local value addition. So in essence, it will no longer be business as usual. You license, you extract raw ore, and then you ship out. No. We would only give licenses to investors, serious, genuine investors, who show us a critical path, concrete plans of putting local value addition in place. That's one. Two, you needed to look at the investing environment. Security is very dear to the heart of investors. Now, investors want to be assured of the security of their tenure. Mining is an expensive business. It's capital intensive. First, you must have the scientifically, internationally certified geodata that will make investors or give investors the room to make informed decision on investment. If an investor is going to invest $100 million, $1 billion, he or she must know exactly the volume of the mineral underground and the tenure of that mineral, how long it will last, how long its investment will last. It's only an internationally certified geoscientific data that can give you these figures. And that also encourages investors. So we embarked on that, generating scientific data. Now, de-risking the environment. You are all aware of illegal mining, and anywhere in Africa that there is a preponderance of minerals, the environment is also almost associated with banditry, terrorism, illegal mining, and the like. And I always say at different fora, all of these banditry, terrorism, illegal mining are externally contrived against Africa. Externally sponsored, financed, nurtured, and sustained to carry the minerals of Africa away. So what we did was to put in place a serious new security architecture in Nigeria devoted only to curbing illegal mining, and we titled it Mining Marshals, because our traditional security agencies were too, engaged with banditry, with all kinds of problems. So we needed to create a new security architecture devoted solely to mining. And at the last count, this mining outfit has apprehended over 300 illegal miners, and as we speak, over 150 are undergoing prosecution. So a message, clear message, has been sent to operators in the industry that here it will no longer be business as usual. So that has curbed drastically the incidence of illegal mining. So a lot of the 90% of the legalized operators now pay their royalties straight to government, and that has shot up the revenue of government. I met a total revenue of 6 billion in 2023. 6 billion naira as a total revenue of the sector. And by last December, putting all these reforms in place, plugging the loopholes, blocking the leakages, the revenue has jumped to 70 billion naira. And we are still counting. So when you put in place these policy initiatives, a clear message is sent to the sector that you either shape up or you ship out.
Mr. Minister, just before I go to the next panelist, you've said some of these things are externally sponsored. And so you've put measures internally that are kind of trying to discourage that kind of thing. What have you done to those what kind of engagement have you had either with foreign governments? Who are these people who are coming to interfere with your sector? Have you addressed them directly?
Very, very insightful question. I will tell you, no foreign government is going to own up to sponsoring terrorism in your domain. So that is quite superfluous. What you have to do is use your number 6 and use your intelligence apparatus and agencies to ferret out the sources of those terrorism and the sponsors. Now, you can do very little with the foreigners. What you can do is within, because there is no foreign terrorism act or terrorist sponsor that will not have a local collaborator. So there's always a connivance, and they prey on the poverty, the prevalence of poverty of our people. So what we do, and we are still doing, is to use a two-pronged approach. The coercive method, which is represented by what I just described, the mining marshals. That's the coercive approach. And then we brought in a persuasive approach. Now, we had over 2 million artisanal miners. And these miners, you could hardly differentiate between artisanal and illegal. So what we did, we thought to ourselves that we couldn't throw 2 million people into the labor market, unemployment market. So we brought in this idea of forming cooperatives. So we're encouraging artisanal miners, itinerant miners, who are potential illegal miners if left unchecked. And we're encouraging them to form cooperatives. Right. Now, in a community, when they form cooperatives, they become formalized, they become bankable, they become structured, and then the royalties that eluded government will now be paid because they are now identifiable, and for them, it's a win-win situation. They no longer are referred to as illegal. They no longer have to look over their shoulders to do their business. They can then be bankable, attract finances to buy small-scale equipment, to advance and enhance their operations. Right. So this has had very salutary effect on illegal mining.
Thank you for that. And I just want to piggyback on that issue of security and insecurity. And I want to bring in Honorable Osuba Wongo from South Sudan. How are you as a government addressing the concerns about security so that investors, some of whom could be here or could be watching us, would get inspiration of confidence? When you think about around end of March 28th, there was an attack at a mine in Jebel Iraq, and we had about 74 dead. I'm not sure whether the number increased, hopefully not. So when you've got such concerns which are still live, may call it that, how are you addressing this so as to inspire confidence in investors that they can feel that I can still come to South Sudan and invest in the mining space and still have a business that is still operational?
Yeah, thank you. I think I wanted to thank all my colleagues for their inspiring conversation. And I also wanted to thank you for that critical question. South Sudan, as many have known, is a new country that is untapped in terms of its mineral resources. We are able to discover some minerals which are very critical, ranging from copper, gold, and even some traces of uranium that we've identified there. The huge challenge in the country is that we, as my colleague said, the most important thing to do in this industry is to ensure that you know what you have and how much you have it, and then how long does it take you to even process or get it. And we actually are moving towards to ensure that we have at least, we should be able to carry a geological survey so that we know what we have. And that is at our core objective as a country. The second thing I wanted to say is that, as I mentioned earlier, this is a country with untapped resources, and still we are setting up all this regulatory framework, the acts. We have right now an act in the parliament which is going on. Once it's passed, we will be able to have a comprehensive legal framework, and the other structures that we're putting in place. The third aspect I want to say is that we had these operations that are taking place in South Sudan, and mainly we have artisanal mining. Artisanal mining, of course, in that rudimental process whereby they are able to get, for example, extract gold and all that, and also they are not controlled, and for that reason, it's a situation where the government right now, we are working with all our levels of government to ensure that this sector come together. We need to identify them, and then we're trying to empower them to do the right mining process. Because one challenge that you've raised in terms of the insecurity and all that, of course, South Sudan, we have this situation, a fragile situation whereby there are still pockets of groups fighting a little bit and all that in the communities. We have that. But that is a national security concern that we are seriously addressing. And the incident that happened in that area, which is called Jebel Koltan or something like that, we had actually a problem with that area because the area has been in operation in terms of a group of people who are doing artisanal mining, but we do not have the data what actually they are doing. So we've tried to ensure that these activities are brought in front into the government so that we use all the instruments of the government to ensure that the artisanal mining that is taking place in these areas are safe for the people, and as well as trying to generate revenue for the government. And of course, it is important to know that until now, still, we do not have large-scale mining in South Sudan. And then we have around, is it one company or two companies that have started after doing some exploration and all that. They're able to start small-scale mining, and we are testing that as a way to ensure that we have an organized mining sector that can contribute to the economy of the country. Now, it's also to know, just wanted to bring to your attention that we have challenges in terms of the mining operation because of the security situation that we've been having. But as I talk now, the situation is actually improving, security-wise, is actually improving. And since after that incident happened, as I said, it's a national security concern, we have stepped up ways of how to ensure that the mining sectors, we have a number of areas that are now, we're getting to ensure that they are safe in whatever they're doing. Now, we also have some challenges in terms of the companies. You know, when I came into the office, I'm now around 4 months or something like that. When I came to the office, we had a number of around over, I'm told around over 200 companies that are doing mining and all that. And when you go to check, they're actually not doing anything. So the issue of compliance with the regulations that are set forth is one crucial problem. So I actually took upon myself, within a month, I was able to revoke licenses that were offered to a number of people. Now, one challenge that we have identified is that a number of people in such situation, like in our country, people go there and take concessions, but they don't do anything. So waiting for some manna from heaven or somebody who can come and do something. So that actually is what we are also trying to prevent. We have actually, I've actually revoked a number, about 37 companies, licenses, and that has actually raised concern with even a number of some international companies that we have revoked them wrongly and all that. But then when we went to details, we realized that some of these companies are actually do not respect the regulations of the country. So we said that when you're coming to the country, and when you criticize us, we should be able to have a moral ground to respect our laws so that you can be able to criticize it better. Okay. So I think those are some of the things that we are trying to set forward. So in terms of ensuring that we move forward in that, we believe in South Sudan that connecting our mining sector with our regional friends, our countries that are already advanced in their process is very crucial. So the regional integration is something which is crucial in as far as the country is concerned. And not only that, once we have that, we need to ensure that we actually move this idea of taking our raw resources and all that, and particularly we're a new country, we wanted to see, we are setting out this as a principle whereby we do not want to move just raw materials outside the country. So we are actually working towards developing, at least ensuring that we have the regulatory framework well, and then also ensuring that we have even refinery, gold refinery that we're already actually working on right now. We wanted to start doing that and ensuring that we actually sell out a refined product.
All right. All right, thank you very much. Let's appreciate the minister. And in just maybe in one line, you've said there's no large-scale mining yet in South Sudan. Do you have a timeline as to when you'd want to have that begin?
Right now we have an act in the parliament, a bill in the parliament that will be passed. Once it is passed, it will give details on particularly issues of large-scale mining operations, how we can manage that. And then secondly, also in that bill, we have a regulation which is developed in terms of the refiners, how to manage that, because that's also, you know, we are in these initial stages. So we are actually building all those policies to ensure that we have the right track on this industry.
All right, thank you. And I want to bring in Honorable Dahir Shire Mohammed from Somalia, and just pretty much on the same, because this seems to be a significant issue which plays out in different ways. What is being done or has been done to address the concerns of security that, would be discouragements to investors, whether local or foreign investors in the mining space, that you can be able to tap into its potential?
Thank you very much, Dan. And I thank my fellow ministers and audience in the room. When it comes to Somalia, what jumps out from the mind of someone may be something that's linked to security or insecurity. As you are aware, Somalia is now coming back and is doing something that is to be commended, because the war against with the insurgents has been strongly, taking place. And when it comes to mining and insecurity, they go hand in hand. And as said before me, my other colleagues from South Sudan and Mr. The chairman of Africa Mining, where there is a proof of deposits, there is always insecurity, insurgents, banditry, clan conflicts. All these things persist. I don't know whether it is created or imported, or somehow it is the wealth that is creating the problems itself. But in terms of security, we are working hard. The government is doing its best to liberate the area where we think mining is potential. We also have, on top of insecurity, some challenges when it comes to geological mapping, regulatory infrastructure, so forth, so on. As most of you may know, Somalia has adopted the federal governing system, and we have state ministers. For first time, I had the opportunity to convene a ministries coordination where I invited all my colleagues at the state level to Mogadishu to elaborate and see how best we can develop this sector, knowing that once we are on the same page, we can achieve a lot. At the same time, we had submitted our mining bills 2025 to the House of Parliament, and in early February they passed the lower house, and it's now with the upper house. Once this bill is signed by the president, it's effective and will be a live document, and it will enable investors and other interested parties to come and have some sort of guiding documents. Mining in it is...
Sorry, is there a timeline as to when that would hopefully be
the parliament is now in its session will begin in few weeks, and immediately the parliament reopens, we will be following up with them. And knowing that licensing of minerals should also have its social licensing, because the community should be in an acceptable manner, whereby investors are received in a peaceful manner. It doesn't ignite problems or something that will discourage the investors. The issue of illegal mining, I ask you to bear with me. As many African countries, this illegal mining is very persistent, and when you look the GDP of Somali GDP that comes from mining is zero. However, we have reports that say that the mineral revenue that is coming from Somalia hits above 300 million in the year of 2023, same as 2024, and the same, yet it's out for that of 2025. This is happening because of the illegal mining, which is happening in parts of Somalia territory, and the government, especially the ministry, is doing some measures to combat this illegal mining. We have issued, a statement, and we are doing. Already, some companies have communicated, because now when the company is an international, it doesn't want its name to be blacklisted or to be damaged. They use and intermingle with the local people, and then with those local people claiming to be the indigenous people of those catchments may assist them. So no external people can come without the help of the local people. So there is some kind of awareness we are raising within the communities and in different parts of Somalia. I tell you, Somalia is untapped when it comes to mineral resources. And if Nigeria is proven, why not Somalia? Because as earlier said, it starts from east to west, south to north. All these belts continue from Mozambique all the way to, our mountainous areas. I think one thing we need to ensure is that as a region, Somalia has, joined the East Africa community, and that's one advantage we can make use of it, learn from our brothers from Tanzania, and of course Kenya is a bit advanced compared to Tanzania, DRC, and Uganda. But what can we help each other? The insecurity that exists, that is in South Sudan, what can we learn from them? How they have managed to secure, the area where is, potential for exploration. I think I can end it there for now.
Yes, for now. Yeah. Thank you very much, Mr. Minister. All right, and so let's bring in Tanzania. The guys who, by data shows that in 2024 the sector achieved a historic milestone by contributing 10.1% to GDP. That is now the mining sector, which is something that 10% is what Kenya is targeting by 2030, but our CS believes it, in a different forum, told me that he believes it can be achieved even sooner. What has worked for Tanzania that it can get to this place where mining is contributing this much, because the rest of us are scratching at 1%?
Well, thank you so very much, moderator, for having afforded me this tremendous opportunity. First of all, today I'm very grateful, and I will be very much astonished, if not flabbergasted, if my friend Joe could not publicly accept the fact that I'm his mentor when it comes to mining sector. So I'm very grateful today. And I'm seeing more two people to come to become my mentees. South Sudan and Somalia. And this should not be taken as if I'm blowing my own trumpet, but I'm just speaking the facts. Yeah. Now, coming to your question, first of all, it is well known that Tanzania is endowed with abundant mineral resources, ranging from critical minerals, industrial minerals, metallic minerals, gemstones, energy minerals, and so many to mention. Now, what is the secret behind that has made Tanzania to actually achieve this milestone achievement of contributing to GDP through mining sector by 10.1% ahead of the scheduled time, because according to our mineral policy of 2009, it was stated that this sector should contribute to the GDP by the year 2025 by at least 10%. But we have managed to actually do it ahead of the schedule. Now, I'll tell you the secret behind. The first thing is that we actually improved our legal framework, and we made the overhaul of our mining laws, which led to the establishment of mineral trading centers and buying centers. In Tanzania, you cannot do mining business without having gone to the mining trading center. If I catch you with mineral, working with them in the street, then you are answerable, and that's it's an offense, and it will actually forfeit the minerals and take you to court for that matter. So we have more than 44 mineral trading centers and 117 buying centers. So all the mineral trading is being channeled to mining trading centers and buying centers. That is number one. But secondly, we have a conducive environment which has attracted more investment into the country. We have a lot of projects now in Tanzania in terms of gold project, graphite, nickel, as well as heavy mineral sands. And last month, I signed one of the biggest projects in Tanzania of niobium, where we are going to construct a state-of-the-art ferroniobium smelter in Tanzania. So that is another contributing factor as to why this sector contributes immensely to our GDP. The third thing is that we have tried to establish a task force which actually helps us in trying to discourage the smuggling of minerals, and we have the task force in place in Tanzania, where we ensure that every mining business is done through the proper channel. So the task force is trying to be everywhere in Tanzania. It is ubiquitous, that especially in mining areas, to ensure that everything follows the proper channel. So that also has helped us to actually reach this stage. But the other factor is political will of our president, Her Excellency Dr. Samia Suluhu Hassan. She wishes to see this sector becoming a mainstay of our economy. So she has given us full support in terms of facilities to ensure that everything is done properly. Now we have regional mines officer around the country, where they usually conduct inspection and survey to ensure that everything is done well. And also we have MROs, mining resident officers. We are placing them in every mining area to ensure that everything is done properly. But the other thing which is very interesting is that in Tanzania, our revenue per year, which comes out of royalty, is 600 million USD. And small-scale miners are contributing 40% of the total revenue collection. And in Tanzania, if you go through Section 9 of the Mining Act, clearly stipulates and established a mineral right for small-scale miners. We have a primary mining license exclusively for Tanzanians. And these small-scale miners are under the patronage of State Mining Corporation. So we have this project also, which goes by the name of MBT, Mining for a Brighter Tomorrow. where we include women, youth, and the people with disability in the mining sector. Last week, I revoked 40 licenses, and we are going to allocate the licenses to small-scale miners through this program of MBT, Mining for a Brighter Tomorrow. And our target is to have this group contribute more to our revenues. So that's why we have a special, a very special license for them, and they're actually doing very well. In Tanzania, we have only done a high resolution airborne geophysical survey, only 16% of our country's size. So we have 84% of our country's size which has not been under the high resolution airborne geophysical survey. And now our mantra is through the Mining Vision 2030. Our aim is to ensure that come the year 2030, we at least cover 50% of our country's size. Now, with all these development, you can just tell by yourself that if at all we have done 16% of our country's size, then if we double it, then we are going to speak a different language. And this is the reason why I've been insisting to my friend Joe to always become close to me, because I have so many to tell him and to actually lead him to the prosperity of this sector. My dear participants, I'd like just to conclude my remarks by just also touching one of the thing which so many ministers have touched on. It's about the value addition. In Tanzania, we do not talk about value addition just as a mere word. We mean it. Under Section 133 of our Mining Act, it is strictly prohibited to export raw minerals. I've also categorically stated when I was presenting my budget speech that we'll never issue again any license without an investor putting on the table a comprehensive plan for domestic beneficiation. Short of that, we'll no longer issue any licenses. So that is the mantra that we are actually going with in Tanzania.
Bueno, Minister, if I may just ask on that, do you have any firms that have dropped out now of the investment space after you put those kind of rules?
Actually, let me be clear that so far, any license holder in Tanzania, especially in critical minerals, who is operational or who is expected to become operational soon, must comply with this mandatory requirement of value addition within the country. We want to move away from the conventional way of doing mining, that of digging and shipping, and we want to move to industrialization. And we are doing it practically, and as I speak to you right now, we have 6 gold refineries in Tanzania, and we have more than 11 factories for processing minerals, especially in nickel and copper, and the graphite as well. And my friend, once I leave this stage today, I'm being awaited there in Tanzania. There's 9 pending framework agreements to sign, new projects. So that's why I'm telling you, when it comes to mining sector, Tanzania has made a very big step, and I'm not a person who is selfish. I'll make sure that my friends also emulate the footprints of Tanzania. I thank you so very much.
Done.
I see Bwana Joho wants to respond.
I am not responding, I'm complimenting what my brother is saying. And let me say that my brother has said very beautiful things, which are real. I mean, I must also confess that after my first appointment, the first country I visited was Tanzania. And because it's our neighbor, and he's also been a friend of mine before he became Minister for Mining. So I knew what they say, you look for soft landing. And he's picked us up well. There is only one thing I want to add. Only one thing is that the beauty about minerals, and that is why you see us here in the sub-region are complementing each other. We are not in any way in competition. We're complementing, and I'll tell you why. Because the minerals are not like humans. They cannot go to a border point and ask, am I now getting into Kenya? And then you say, no, I'm going back to Tanzania. So the beauty about what my brother Anthony has said, and for all of us, by the way, and that is why it is important for us to align on the interest about value addition. What is in Tanzania is in Kenya, and possibly in South Sudan, in Somalia, in Uganda, in Burundi, in Rwanda. And that calls on us to have now a meaningful conversation on who does what, particularly in value addition. For example, we in Kenya here may have the largest rare earth deposits on the continent, possibly. And if we do that, I must speak to my brother Anthony and my brother Dahir to say, you know what, why don't you invest in chromite value addition? So we send you all our raw material and send me rare earth. And then we go look somewhere, even Nigeria, by the way. If we fix our mobility and connectivity issues within the continent, and the perfect example would be to move from east to west, the very last point of east to west, on land, at an average speed of 80 kilometers an hour, which even can be achieved possibly on MGR, you're looking at 4 days. So, where is closer? Is it closer for you to pack your raw material, send it 4 days away, and bring your value added and separated materials, or send it in raw form to thousands and thousands and thousands of miles away, which probably takes 2 months of sailing? So we are going to have this meaningful discussion, and it is important for all of us. Finally, why we are saying this, and by the way, I will repeat it. Our mentor on this table, besides the chairman, you cannot be thick at the caliber of the chairman, please, Anthony. Besides the chairman, you are doing great. You're doing great. But we are coming. We're right here, right behind you. And us, we are runners. And we run long and fast. But again, like I said, we will complement each other so that we all progress, we all empower people. The President of the Republic of Kenya here strongly came out as the champion of the African Free Trade Area. And that's what it means for all of us. How do we create these opportunities for our people in the region, in the continent, so that they can be wealthy, they can be stable, they can sustain their livelihoods and grow to become first world. So we're going to Singapore, my brother.
All right. Before we go to Singapore, let's come to Somalia for a bit.
Thank you very much, Dan. When we came here at this stage, my friend, Excellency Minister Anthony, whispered to me and said, "How old are you?" And then I was honest, I thought he's referring to my age. I told him, but looking at his explanation on how far Tanzania has gone to minerals, he's far older than me. When we look at the aeromagnetic or data mapping they have done, I can still champion him to be our mentor, granted, and I confess, not only Joho. For Somalia, we are now doing aeromagnetic survey to do our mining or to do mapping in our resource. But already he is doing high resolution flying over only 60 meters. But imagine Somalia, if you hire, an airplane or a drone, and you tell you only fly at a 60-meter height in the area where people believe it's highly insecure. What is the negotiation position of that company doing the survey? Otherwise, thank you very much. We are not competing with you, but be very honest, not selfish, and teach us, show us the path you have gone through all the way, and we will learn from you. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you very much. And we'll be coming back to the Minister of Tanzania. I want to just go to Chairman. And I'm asking this for the benefit of those who may think of things at face value. Everyone is talking about illegal mining. Mining is not a secret or a very hidden or concealed activity. It is not like something I do on my computer that I am creating fake news on AI, which I can do inside my house and on. Mining is very visible, very audible. How does this happen? Yet we have governments in place with various, security agencies and the likes, that we can have illegal mining to a point where it's a concern that's shared across. How does this happen? Is this an indictment on governments?
Thank you very much. You have to take certain factors into consideration. One is the size of the nation. In Nigeria, for instance, I'm sure you are familiar with the figures. We're over 240 million people with a vast land, over 350,000 square kilometers. We have arid land in the northern part. We have rainforests in the southern part. It is practically impossible to police every inch of the land. And then you have communities that are far-flung. Mining, we must all understand, occurs in the rural settings. Hardly would you find a mining site in an urban center. So mostly, majorly, mining is in the rural areas where there is scant presence of infrastructure, except there is a deliberate policy, government policy of instituting or putting infrastructure in place. Even then, mining is digging. When an illegal miner, for instance, itinerant miner, there are some areas in Nigeria where you hardly need to dig for lithium, for instance. They are very shallow. Some can dig with hands, with rudimentary implements. Some can use only shovel. And this can be done in the backyard of your home. So logistically, it is quite impossible to locate every inch of your nation, even Kenya, even Uganda, anywhere. Two, don't forget an important point, which I mentioned about the external contrivance. I'll give you an example. Some bandits, armed bandits, approach a community, a very rural community, fire shots into the air. The dwellers scamper for safety. They move away. After moving away, these bandits begin to dig. Now, why I say that, and I maintain that this is externally contrived, is because when the few or some of those terrorists and miners, illegal mine operators that we've apprehended, you would need to see the sophistication of their arms. These are not arms that ordinary people can afford. So that speaks intelligently to you that this must be externally sponsored and funded. Sometimes they could have arms that are more sophisticated than what the government security agencies have. So the government would then have to double its efforts, pump more revenue into the military or security architecture to fund, increase the arsenal. Some use drones. And drones are not, they are not on the shelf. Like you don't go to a market to buy drones. So a lot of these variables happen to encourage illegal mining. So it's like saying in the most sophisticated, technologically advanced nations of the world, in the United States of America, Europe generally, and the USA, in China, can you tell me that there's no incidence of burglary, robbery, with the level of technological sophistication, with the level of arsenal, with the amount of huge, humongous revenue at their disposal, they still cannot totally, absolutely eliminate robbery, carjacking, hijacking, all kinds of, on the streets of central London, on Oxford Street, you can hardly now wear a very expensive wristwatch. Those who frequent UK will attest to this. I came from there 2 days ago to Nairobi, so I know what I'm talking about. In the US, I'm sure when you watch the international news media, you see shooting, all kinds of, insecurity on a daily basis, in spite of the fact that they have all the wherewithal, the gadgets to curb this, they cannot. How much less of Africa, where we're still coming up, where we're still trying to plug the loopholes and plug the leakages. So it takes time. Nation building is not a 100-meter dash. It's a marathon race. So every successive administration comes, consolidates, builds, and exits. Another one comes, consolidate, builds, and that's how a nation is built. Even these nations that we are saying they are very developed, they did not wake up overnight and became developed. A lot of them went through the crucibles and the pains of development, spanning over centuries. So how old are we in terms of independence? So we must put it in proper perspective.
Thank you for that context and this perspective. I want to go to our minister from South Sudan. And not too long ago, there was a concern raised about with the government of South Sudan being accused of lack of transparency. And this was by the US ambassador to Sudan, Michael Adler, who was saying that they were even somewhat reluctant to encourage their investors from the US to come to South Sudan owing to what he said was lack of transparency as well as security. Is this a fair assessment?
Thank you very much for bringing that point. I think, as we correctly, as some of my colleagues actually correctly put, we have a challenge as a region, particularly South Sudan. South Sudan has been in conflict with a number of years until we got our independence. And when we got our independence, few years too, we got again into civil conflict, which ended up in 2018. And we have an agreement which is still holding. And there are still some pockets of insecurity in some areas which are going down as I talk now. The most important thing is the connection, the external connection to fueling such kind of situation in the country. And I can say that, of course, this is in line with my colleague here, the chair. It's true that we have a serious concern because some external factors actually would not want a country that has a number and diverse mineral resources to be peaceful. So a number of countries, a number of some external factors are actually contributing to that. And that is why we have some of this insecurity and then some situations like that. Now, on that particular case of the United States Ambassador's statement, I think it is important to know that actually we had a meeting, me and him, and that actually was because there was a company which was registered as a South Sudanese company owned by a dual citizen, South Sudanese and American, somebody who was a dual citizen, South Sudanese and American citizen. So the complaint went to the embassy that they were actually unduly revoked. It is actually among the companies that's where licenses were revoked. So the ambassador came and we discussed that, and I told him that we have regulations, we have a number of conditions that any company that has taken some concessions has to comply with. And we have very clear, I stated very clearly the lack of compliance from these companies, including that specific company and all that, and I gave all the evidence and all that. And then, unfortunately, he told me that if he's going to the press, he's going to say what US wanted to hear, what Washington wanted to hear. And I have to be very honest, because that's what actually happened. And I went and I said, you know, when you want to criticize a country, and particularly African countries, we are always seen as incapable of delivering good governance, and then we're all the time in wars, and we cannot manage ourselves properly. That is the general conception out there. If you are going to say that, it is important always to be morally right. If you are coming to my country, you respect the laws that we have set. If you don't respect, and then you don't have any moral justification to criticize the country. So that is what I made some very clear and all that. So what I wanted to say is that this is a new country that we got independent some few years ago, and we are setting policies, regulations, and our call, our urge is that we should be able to align our policies, our regulatory frameworks, and also ensure that we invest jointly within the region. And this is very important because this is where we can be able to talk about value addition. Another thing I wanted to say is that it is important to recognize the fact that we wanted responsible mining investment, because responsible mining that can be able to be inclusive, that can bring our people, the communities that the mining always are conducted in their areas, they must be able to benefit from the activities from the extracted from their localities, and we must be able to ensure that this might actually contribute to the social capital in these areas. And then, most importantly, it should be able to contribute to the revenues of the country. So if it doesn't, and then it is a problem. One crucial aspect that we have in South Sudan is one of my colleagues mentioned about illegal mining. It is true, in South Sudan also we face the same problem. Actually, we have a number of companies that are operating illegally. And that's why when we started now trying to follow the regulations, and when I got into office, I said, you know, I cannot tolerate anybody who does not follow the laws that we have actually set. So that is where we are now having confrontation with some internal national companies, and also external factors, external influences that have been actually enjoying that free ride. So I think it is important to take into consideration that we are, as a new country, we know that we have challenges. We know that there are all disagreements sometimes among ourselves. But the most important thing is to ensure that we add values to the resources that we have. And our friends who are working with us should be able to respect our laws, and they should be able to respect the people, and should be able to support us at equal level. We do not want a support just like, I actually feel comfortable when the new trend now from the US and from other countries saying that, we don't want to give aid, just that's this free aid and all that. I think that is a very good approach, whereby we wanted actually to negotiate. We negotiate, people talking about critical minerals and all that. So we should be able to negotiate at equal level so that we can benefit from these resources. And another thing, most importantly, is the issue that these resources, if it's not well invested, actually increases insecurity. It increases insecurity. And I think in the case of South Sudan, and I know in other also some of our neighboring countries, the insecurity is fueled by external factors. And at the same time, these external factors come and extract these resources and take it out. So it does not even benefit the people. So I think this is where my government, our government in the Republic of South Sudan, is moving towards that. We've been discussing with the senior leadership and all that to ensure that, with the president himself also trying to ensure that this mining sector is not plundered in such a way that it increases insecurity, but it should be able to help in bringing peace and stability for our country. So I think we're taking a very different approach and a more pragmatic to ensure that the mining sector in South Sudan actually contribute to peace and stability instead of fueling conflict. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And let's appreciate him first. For a brief while, I'm going to open the floor for a bit of questions or comments from the audience. And if you have one, you'll raise your hand and my colleague Wangeshi will bring the mic to you. But just to pick up on something that you had said, Minister Anthony, first of all, when you look at the data, 2024 seems to have been a very good year for Tanzania in terms of mining. When I look at some of the data, I see Tanzanian-owned companies accounting for over 91.7% of the total sales. The target was 80%. Workforce, Tanzanians in the workforce, the target was 90, achieved 97.4. Record gold production of 60,000 kilograms and the likes. But I see in 2025, the projection, it went down to about 42,000 from 60,000. Is this the correct status? And what was, if so, what was the attribution that led to that? So the data shows, I'll just get to the one, 2024 had a record gold production of 60,000 kilograms, valued at about $4.23 billion. But 2025 gold production projected to be about 42,000, which was less than 2024. Was there was a decline in terms of the production? Is this the situation, and what is it attributed to?
Actually, those are not correct data. It's quite different from what you have. In Tanzania, our production of gold per annum is 65 tons and not kilograms. So I think you have...
for 2025, what was the figure for 2025?
Of course, that is 2025. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Was it any decline from 2024?
There's no any decline. Actually, it is working different. It's opposite way.
Okay.
We are actually keeping on increasing production as the days go by. And this is largely contributed by the fact that most of the licenses which we revoke, they're usually allocated to small-scale miners, and they are now the big players in the mining sector, save for big shots, the likes of GGM and Barrick. But most of the small-scale miners actually are immensely contributing to the production of gold, because in Tanzania, unlike other places, we do not take illegal mining as a criminal thing. Actually, we are trying to shift from taking punitive measures, but instead we're actually trying to formalize them. And this is the reason why we want them to engage in a legal economy. Now, by doing so, whenever we have these, the so-called people who are conducting mining activities without licenses, I'm trying to use a polite word, I'm not calling them illegal miners. So what we actually do is we try to formalize them. As I speak now, in Tanzania, we have more than 6 million players at the level of small-scale mining. So we have taken considerable effort to ensure that these people are becoming instrumental to the development of our country, and especially in preparing the growth of the mining sector. Now, what has the country done so far? As I stated before, that we have the special license for them, and secondly, they're under the patronage of State Mining Corporation, and third, we have arranged a special package for them, where the Geological Survey of Tanzania is conducting a preliminary research, the survey, through the magnetometer and the use of drones. And then we have the State Mining Corporation, which owns quite a big fleet of drilling machines and other sophisticated machines to help the miners at least establish where are the anomalies and magnetic points, because we want to save their energy and their capital as well. And the fourth thing that we are doing in Tanzania is that through the bank, the Central Bank of Tanzania, now we have an established corporation which goes by the name of Credit Guarantee Corporation. Now we are identifying the big players in small-scale mining sector, and after we have identified them, then the government stands in the middle to ensure that they get loans from bank as the government becomes the guarantor. And by so doing, we want to have them trying to actually escalate from where they are to move to medium scale, even to large scale. And this is done under the patronage of State Mining Corporation, which itself, the managing director is here with me. I've given him the task. I've given him the task that I want him to become as big as GGM and Barrick are in Tanzania. So President Samia Suluhu Hassan has boldly directed that the licenses which were revoked and the others which were being surrendered by the big companies are now given to STAMICO, and we want them to become the big shots in the mining sector in Tanzania. Right. So STAMICO is very well established, and STAMICO is doing the patronage to small-scale miners. Our aim is to have all mining sector programs and everything that pertains to mining properly regulated under STAMICO, and we think that through small-scale mining, Tanzania can make a very great step further.
All right, thank you. Let's appreciate him. And Wangeshi, you have some contributions from that side?
Thank you very much. I would like to take some questions here, and I'll take the first one. Tell us your name, which part of the ecosystem you're in, and shoot your question.
Okay, thank you. My name is Bruce Musinguzi, Kampala, Uganda. I'm into mining in iron ore. My question is very simple. I want to know from maybe the East African players, Kenya and Tanzania, how are you managing the issue of surface rights? In Uganda, the biggest challenge that we have, whereas you might have an exploration license, the challenge you always have is with the surface rights. Now, the problem with the surface rights, I notice most of you have already done your geophysics. Once the owners of the land know that beneath them there's a mineral, the price of the land goes 10-fold, 100-fold. How are the governments managing to protect investors in such a scenario? Thank you.
All right, we could take a few others so we can take them together. We have just about 10 minutes to close.
Let me just take one more.
So ministers, I will request that you could just note them down so we can respond to them in one. Thank you.
Yes, thank you for the opportunity and thank you to the panelists. We see that Africa is suddenly coming together. We appreciate you. My question is for Waziri Mavunde. First of all, hongera sana. I work for the Impact Facility. We empower small-scale miners, artisanal miners. We have an office here in Kenya. We have one in DRC and we have one in Geita, Tanzania. And I have to say, you are a shining, shining star in the small-scale sector. Even the Kenyan ASM know you very well. You actually trend on WhatsApp when you give your, ukitoa uamuzi huko, it trends all the way until Kenya. We see the work you're doing, we appreciate you. And Waziri, I'd also just want to mention to Waziri Joho, you are going to be a fantastic mentee because that gentleman right there next to you is a #1 mentor. Quick one. There's this misunderstanding about LSM, ASM. Please tell us from Tanzania, how is it possible for LSM and ASM to coexist? Because sometimes in other places, people tend to think that those two cannot coexist. So how has Tanzania been able to find a way for large-scale miners and small-scale miners to coexist? Asante.
I'll take, I think, the last question from a lady.
Hello, my name is Candice Jumwa. My question is for our Cabinet Secretary, Honorable Ali Hassan Joho. So what is the plan for our ministry to operationalize the county ASM licensing committees? These committees have been gazetted for a long time now. Our Mining Act has been implemented since 2016. No ASM actors, to my knowledge, has received a license in our country. What is the plan to fast track this and for the government to, in the future, earn revenue from this sector and for our people to benefit from the mining? Thank you.
Thank you.
There's one more hand there we can accommodate, then we can close this.
There was one more.
Oh, there was one here.
Yep. It's closer, sorry.
Oh, he was pointing at him. You're a good team player.
Asante
Africa
sana.
we want.
Yeah, I thought if I left without mentioning this, it would be a disservice to visiting Kenya. My name is Patrick Mulindwa, and thank you, my chairman, and Minister Joho, and Honorable Mavunde. Now, this one is to Kenyans, and I know that NTV is broadcasting this live. To young Kenyans in Kenya, there will be jobs in the mining sector. Many of them will not be for legal. At a certain part, the legal will phase. When the steel or niobium is extracted, is pre-processed, then the industries, either from China or any other country, they will feel it's better and easier to produce in Kenya. They will need skilled labor. And I know that through Honorable Joho and the other agencies, we can ably illustrate which skills will be needed in the next 5 years, in the next 10 years, and a shorter time to come. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Prepare for that.
Thank you very much. And I will now bring it back to the panel. There was a question about surface rights management. And I'll also, in the spirit of digital, I've seen a question online for you, Waziri Joho. Someone asked, your ministry is pushing new regulations to fast track royalty payments to counties and communities. How much money has actually been withheld or delayed?
No, I cannot give you the actual figures, but I can give you an example. Very recently, we were doing the calculations for what Best Titanium had done and what the community, the affected community of Kwale, not really Kwale, the affected community of Msambweni, where mining was happening, had to receive about 880 million shillings as their fair shareable revenue, which is now been addressed by the new regulations, which I signed in 2026, that will ensure timely disbursement of revenues to the rightful people. So meaning, the time or the moment the national government gets its share, the county should also get at the same time, just like the community also must get their disbursement, and that is very critical for us. So you can assure him, it will vary from every mine to mine, but the most important thing is that it will be delivered on time. Let me give a context of what my brother Bruce referred as surface rights in the context of Kenyan law. Number one, we encourage negotiation. So if I come to your land and I find there are minerals, I find a way to negotiate with you. But let us begin by appreciating the fact that minerals in the entire country belong to the state, belong to the public. Land surface is yours, and you are rightfully placed within the law to play your role. There's a role for you. There is value for you in your own rights. But I think the wisdom as to why those geological valuables are placed as a property of the people is that they can positively be exploited and be put to use. So number one, you are encouraged to engage and negotiate by a way of maybe lease or the outright sale. But if for whatever reason it doesn't work in whichever way, and it has been defined that it is unreasonably done, then government has the right to step in for compulsory acquisition, even though we haven't had that conversation yet. But if we find as government that you've been offered value for the current market, you've been extended goodwill, you've not been negatively exposed.